It's time to review Smile. Are you ready? No, I'm not going to talk like the entire video. So, Smile was a movie I had no idea about. It wasn't until like a couple of YouTubers, Sean Chandler, Cody Leach, they were talking about it. They went to Fantastic Fest and they saw this. I'm like, what? Then I started seeing the trailer on TV. I don't watch a lot of TV, like cable TV. So usually for like wrestling, whenever Big LT is here, or like, you know, my TV show, Stargirl, The Flash, Chucky, the Winchesters, however long those may last, the CW ones at least. And I am going to work on a video about the WB and CW because I feel I want to talk about some stuff. It's going to be like a top 10, but also talking about my history with the channel. But, you know, anyway, so inherently I don't watch a lot of cable. Just when I have shows that are going to be on, that's it. And sometimes when I go to bed, I'll put on the good night, to watch Friends. If I can't find anything on YouTube to watch when I go to bed, Friends is on. I'll put that on. I'll go to sleep. So yeah, during the time I'm watching cable. Oh, with my son sometimes we watch cable too. You know. And this trailer came up. Like, oh, this is what they were talking about, and it looked interesting. If not something we've seen before, but the premise here is that this doctor, played by Sosie Bacon, yes, Kevin Bacon's daughter, and Kyra Sedgwick, didn't know they were even married, but, you know, her daughter. And if you know that her mom's Kyra Sedgwick, yeah, you can tell. Like, yeah, of course, they look the same. She doesn't look like Kevin Bacon at all. She looks like Kyra Sedgwick. Just saying. She has a patient who comes in. She's a therapist at this hospital. Patient comes in, says she's seeing things, says that something's after her, it's an entity, of course, doesn't leave her, and then she ends up committing suicide right in front of her. Then she starts seeing the entity, and it has the sinister smile, which is very familiar, which I'll talk about when I get into the review. And she has to start trying to figure out what this is, where it came from, how it happened, how to stop it, that sort of thing. And of course, it's one of those things where no one believes her, even though she's telling people, but she's, you know, they have a certain story plot thread, which we've seen in Thread, which we've seen in other movies, that is used to push the doubt into the minds of the people in her life. So, you know. So let's go ahead and sit down and talk about this movie then. All right. So, if you're watching this movie, or even if you see the trailer, you're going to think this is very familiar. Right? I think it's very familiar. It has, once you hear the premise, you're going to be like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. You know, this is very familiar. So it's something, an entity, only you can see, disguises itself as your friends and family and even random people. And it has a weird smile, and it's technically a curse. And it was directed by a guy who is his first time filming, and he's notable for doing a short that this movie is based on. Yes, it's very familiar. The director of this, much like David F. Sandberg, did a short. And the actress from the short is also in this movie. She's the patient that, you know, herself, you know. And, yeah, it's very much, it follows Truth or Dare and Lights Out. Smooshed into one, with the only thing from Lights Out being that it was used to be a short and now it's a feature film. You know, I watched this on Paramount Plus. I thought it was gonna be on there. Got a notification. I was like, oh, I wouldn't want to see this after seeing the reviews, you know. Positive reviews. And let me tell you, this is a good movie, alright? The acting in this is pretty good. Sosie Bacon does a great job. And yes, there are plenty of times when I see her mother in her, and not so much her dad. She looks like her mother. I'm sorry. She does. And I know Sosie Bacon from Scream, the TV series. She was Rachel, the girlfriend of, what's her name? I can't think of her name. She was the short-haired chick. I don't remember the name, but she was the girlfriend. She died in season 1. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen season 1, but yeah. She died in season 1. And you have Kyle Gallner, who was her ex-husband in this. Who's a cop. So there's that connection. And Kyle Gallner also has a connection to Scream. He was in the recent Scream 2022. Why can't we come up with new names for these? Why not Scream Again? Or Scream 5, which is what it should have been called. 5 at the front of it. I don't get these new movies that come out. They're sequels to the original film, and it just had the same name, and it makes no sense. It's because they couldn't come up with names. And so, yeah. But this is Smile, so not the most creative name. Although the original name, something about Laura has lost it or something like that, probably wouldn't have worked because the main character's name is Rose. So, yeah. And I will say, there's some pretty cleverly done things. There's some jump scares that aren't like, boom, cat! Well, there is a cat in this, but I don't think there's ever a cat jump scare. There is a scare with the cat that I called. At one point in the film, she goes to feed the cat and she was calling for it. By the way, who the hell names their cat Mustache? The cat's name is Mustache. I don't know why. She's looking for the cat. She can't find it. This is after she's already been cursed. She can't find the cat anywhere. So then she decides to go to, you know, she told her sister she couldn't go to her nephew's birthday party because she had to work. Well, now she's been laid off because she's starting to forget about this stuff. She's a doctor, a therapist, like I said already. She brings the present, and when the kid goes to open it, the way that it kind of slowed down and we opened it, before that even happened, she gave him the gift, and I went, the cat's in there, isn't it? It clicked in my head. I'm like, she couldn't find the cat. The cat's in there. And sure enough, it was. And, yeah. And so, of course, the sister thinks that... So that was obvious, at least, I don't know if it was to everyone else who watched this, but to me, that was kind of, the cat's in there. It's just something I've clicked. I've seen a lot of horror movies, so I know all the cliches, and that's kind of stuck out to me. A lot of people I've heard, like, don't like Kyle Gallner. I think he's good in this movie. So, for me, the first half of this film was really good. I was really into it. There was decent scares. I feel like they could have handled it more. Like, there's a point where she's walking down the hallway after she first gets it, and she sees this patient, which we already saw earlier, sitting on the bed. By the way, I want to mention, I don't think there's much CGI for the smiles. Maybe a little bit, but it seems like genuine, like... And it does come off as creepy, unlike Truth or Dare, where it just comes off as terrible because it's CGI, and I was with it. Like I said, but there's a scene here where she walks by and you see the guy sitting there. And she goes back, and he's still sitting there with a smile. And I'm like, wouldn't it have worked better if... Because at this point, it's just started. So it's trying to taunt her. So you want it... You should want... If you're this entity. You should want her to think she's losing her mind, you know, to drive her crazy. So if she's walking back, you should just be, you know, standing there. Or, as we saw, he was actually just laying there asleep. So he's sitting there, and you see that, and then she goes back, and he's just laying there asleep. She's like, but no, we have to have her have a big freak out over this, and have the whole, you're going to die, you're going to die, you're going to die thing, big freak out, because then she's got to get laid off so she can go to the birthday party later. So I see where the story was going with that. It's not bad. And I thought that generally the smile was actually creepy. This creature, it was just someone smiling, is kind of creepy, and there's a scare that is given away in the trailer in the TV spots. But when she goes to see her sister, she tries to tell her what's going on. Of course, she doesn't believe her. She goes to leave, and then you see his sister come out, walk to the door, tap on the door of the car, and then she goes to her in the head. It's a great scare. Too bad they ruined it with the trailer. Look, I understand you got to put certain things in the trailer, but that was not needed to be in the trailer, in my opinion. That's a great scare, because it generally, especially when you watch this and the scene itself plays as if the sister comes out having to change her heart, walks up to the thing, and taps on the window. You might not even be expecting it, but since you saw it in the trailer, you went, oh yeah, this is where she comes out, knocks on it, saw it coming. And that shouldn't have been in the trailer. And what's more is that I said that the creature is creepy, just the way it's a person with a smile. And but then at the end of the film, so she goes to her ex-husband, Joel, Kyle Gallner's character. By the way, he enters in this too as her fiance. All he's good for is person who doesn't believe her. That's it. He said, oh, I looked up your history of mental health in your family because I want to know what kind of shit show I was getting into. Dude, if you are even have those kind of thoughts, why did you propose to her to begin with? Like, you're like, I want to make sure she's not psycho nuts, you know. But why? If you're having those kind of doubts, I don't know. Anyway, so she goes to Joel. They're looking up stuff to find out this is linked back, and then she has another freak out. She goes to see her sister after this, I think, try to sort out things, and then she finds out. She gets a call from Joel telling her that this goes back to 20 different cases with 19 suicides. There was one survivor, this guy, who, she actually goes to see the wife, Munoz, sorry if I mispronounced that, Judy Reyes from Scrubs, by the way, and she tries to get information from her, but she thinks she's a crackpot, so she kicks her out. But she goes to talk, so Joel talks to her and tells her that there's one guy that survived, and the guy says this guy actually killed someone else in front of someone else as a witness, who was the next person who ended up committing suicide. So if you kill someone in front of someone, it causes the trauma that transfers. So the whole thing with this, that they find out, is that you get cursed by this thing, it causes you to commit suicide in front of somebody else, and that transfers it to them, and circle goes over again. But if you kill someone in front of someone else, it transfers the curse to that next person without you dying. But in my opinion, that is a stupid way to do this. Like, that's your way out. You gotta kill someone in front of someone else. Anyone who does that's gonna go to fucking jail or be on the run for the rest of their lives. Couldn't you have come up with another way to get out of it without having to have our main character commit murder and go to jail? Doesn't matter, because that doesn't really go anywhere. She has a hallucination where she stabs that patient from earlier who was smiling at her and told her she was going to die in front of Cal Penn, who's her colleague at the hospital. And I was like, oh, she did it. But then this is the end of her going to jail, right? And then all of a sudden, the guy she's killing is smiling as he's getting stabbed, and then Kal Penn peels off his face, and I went, huh? And then it reveals she's just in her car. So she hallucinated the whole thing, and I went, what was the fucking point of that? At all? Like, what? Why I had that in the movie? What was the point of that? That's... No. And this is where that second half kind of went down for me, because it was like, okay, you had something at the beginning of this, it was creepy, it was scary, the whole, she's sitting in the bed, and there's like a dark doorway, which is something that always creeps me out. You can't see into the next room. If I go to sleep in the bedroom, I have to have the door shut, because I can't have the door open with the dark living room and not know what's out there. I know there's nothing out there, but it's that fear of the unknown, right? Always why I can't sleep with the TV off. I can't sleep in the dark. I can't. It's too dark. It's that I've had a rational fear of the dark since I was a kid. It's that fear of the unknown. You don't know. Same thing with closets, but I can have my closet open, especially if my TV was sitting in there, you know. But anyway, yeah, genuinely creepy. The first half of this movie, genuinely creepy. Then once you start to delve into what it is, and you start to get that hallucination scene, just kind of went, no, it's a little too goofy for me. And then, so the whole thing with this is that her mom committed suicide, I guess, by swallowing pills. She went nuts, I guess. I guess she had mental health problems. But everything they showed, she was just in bed, asking for help. I don't know. But she had the pills. I mean, later revealed that she could have helped her mom, but didn't. But it's a 10-year-old. You know, you're scared. But so yeah, so she decides that she's gonna get away from everything, so there are no witnesses. So when she commits suicide, there's no one there. So she goes to her old house, which it always confuses me in movies and TV shows. Like, oh, let's go to my old house. The Flash handled this well by having the house where Barry's mother died. Someone is living in that house. It's not abandoned where all other stuff, the house is just abandoned. Like, that wouldn't happen. Like, The Grudge, I can see, because that house has a curse or whatever, no one wants to live in it. But, like, no one lives in this house, no one bought it, no? I mean, there are some houses that have no one living in it, you know, that sort of thing. Even, like, Halloween Ends had the same thing. Like, nobody wants to buy that house. I know a kid died there, but someone was living in the Michael Myers house. Teenager died there. So, maybe, 40 years, someone will buy the house where the kid died in Halloween Ends. Who knows? But, it goes back to her old house. And this is where we get the most, in my opinion, unnecessary thing in the world. So, there's a scene before this, another thing that was well done. It's in the second half, but it was well done, where she's sitting there, where she's at her house, and her therapist comes to visit her, and she's talking to her. And they're having a conversation, like it's a therapy session, and her phone rings, and I went, another thing I caught on to, I'm like, it's going to be the therapist, isn't it? Sure enough, hello? Oh, hey, it's Madeline, and all of a sudden, the therapist, and credit to the actress who plays the therapist, she has a very creepy smile, like, it's like, oh, okay. But I saw that coming. But again, those are two good scenes in this movie of creepiness. Even though I saw them coming, the cat being pulled out, it's music played. The score in this is great. Not as good as It Follows score, but it's a great score, right? And so that's when she decides to get away from it all. She gets to this cabin. She's alone. She has another hallucination where it's her mom. And she ends up there's that the whole therapist thing, no. She has a hallucination, she kills someone again, right? Is that 2 hallucinations where she does it? Because she's in a car there, but this is one where she leaves the house. And I can't remember. Go somewhere else. I'm trying to think. Why did I blank this out? She goes to see Joel and tell him what's going on, and that's when he starts laughing and smiling, and it's revealed that she never actually left the house. And then we get big CGI mom monster, which I actually shot it before this, but big CGI mom monster. It looked like a mom, it turned into a giant monster, and then eventually it rips off the mom's face and reveals a bunch of mouths. And I was like, no, you lost me. You had me through most of this film. The creepiness of It Follows is that it could be anyone. It never had to rely on stupid-ass CGI monsters to do it. It was always very subdued, very quiet, except for the music score, but you never knew what was coming. Even the ending of that, you didn't know the person walking behind them. Is it the creature? We don't know. But here they decided we need to have big finale with big CGI monster, and that's when it just went down the toilet for me. It's like, no, we don't need that. And the whole her going to this house to get away from everything so that when the suicide happens, it's all thrown out the window because some fucking how Joel has found the house and witnesses her setting herself on fire. Cop out. You had the way out. You had the way out. You had a way out of this. Just have her set herself on fire. End the movie. Joel finding her makes no fucking sense. Yes, he's a cop. Yes, you could look up. But how would he even know she was at that house? And yes, he could just be checking things. But no. It makes no sense. She told no one where she went. And he still finds her at that house. Because it's all about setting up for a sequel. I guarantee you that's why they put it in there. They're like, oh, let's just have her. I'm pretty sure 50-50 someone said, okay, so she's secluded. She gets herself on fire. Horrible fire. And then off. Movie ends. It's over. Nah, someone needs to find her. We need to be able to pass it on. So just in case this movie does good, we could do a sequel. Pretty sure that's how the conversation went, because this whole ending with Joel finding the house doesn't make sense to me. Yes, you could point out your whole reality stuff. Yeah, he's a cop. He would know where the mom's house is. He could have called the sister. Why wasn't the sister with him then? And that could have been the hook. Joel goes to talk to the sister. She goes, the old house. I bet she's hiding at the old house. They both show up. Does it transfer to both of them? That could be a hook for a sequel. 2 people have this curse and have to work together. There's someone else that believes them. Right? Right? That would be cool. But instead we have generic setup where ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, finds her. Ex-boyfriend, maybe. Finds her. You see the gleam in his eyes. It's been transferred. We could do a sequel. And I guarantee you when they do that sequel, Kyle Gallner's only going to be in the beginning so that he can pass it on to whoever our lead is going to be. And all the continuation from this is going to go nowhere. Because that's how they do sequels. Is that we can't have survivor character continuing. That's what I've always hated about horror sequels, is that why can't we just bring back the survivor for more than one movie? You did it with Laurie Strode. You did it with Heather Langenkamp. right? But sequels to new movies, more than likely, always have, more than often, have sequels that just a little bit connected because they have other stories they want to tell. So guarantee if there's a sequel to Smile, we'll see Kyle Gallner at the beginning of this, trying to tell people that something's going on, they don't believe him. He commits a suicide and sends it to our new character. Or maybe Kyle Gallner won't even be in it, and he went to the therapist. Now the therapist has it, and is trying to talk to a colleague about it, and that colleague is the main character. That's losing the connection a little bit, right? Or, and this would make so much sense, but transfer it to the sister. I know the sister's not a major actress or anything, but transfer it to the sister. So now she realizes her sister was telling the truth. Or just have Kyle Gallner be the main character in the next one, and he goes to talk to the sister and the ex-boyfriend. And tell them that she was right. He's seeing the same thing she was seeing. On all the history of mental health, she was right. But we're not going to get that. So, at the end of the day, Smile comes off as a decently made horror film that falls into some tropes. But it is another notch in this has been a banger year for horror movies. X, Black Phone. I haven't seen it yet, but I hear Pearl is good. I've heard things about Bodies. I'm going to check that out later. Smile. I've heard things about Nope. Who knows? But, yeah. So, when it comes to Smile, I would still say it's pretty good. And I was on it's a pretty good, but it's just, like, it could just, if it could tip over and be a middle of the road if it was a little bit worse. But it just makes it to pretty good for me. Because I did enjoy myself with it. The acting was great. The score was great. The idea is good. Some of the execution, not so much, but it's still pretty good to me. So, what are your thoughts on Smile? For no comments below, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scotty. I'll see you in the next one.